Hi, and welcome to another brand new 7-Spot YouTube video. I'm Trevor. If I was to tell you in today's money you could buy a kit and build a car for around about £2,200, you'd think I was madder than you already think I am. But 20 years ago, that's exactly what one British manufacturer was offering to the market. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the Robin Hood 2B. Robin Hood Engineering had been around since the early 1980s. They were best known at that point for their stainless steel monocoque chassis, using Ford Sierras and Ford Cortinas as donors. The 2B was a completely new concept. It used CNC tube bending machines to create the chassis, and then had various stainless steel or mild steel panels to complete the body. The reason for this change primarily was down to the SVA requirements coming in around about 1997, and the 2B itself was launched in 19. Most people's journey to owning a Robin Hood kit came through one of these brochures. Robin Hood gave these away at kit car shows up and down the country. They would have on display a complete kit with all its components along with a finished car. And the idea was you filled in your order form, paid your relatively small deposit, and you had your kit ordered. They only allowed kit collection on certain days during the year, usually around about 7 or 8 times a year. They had a massive factory compared to most kit car manufacturers. It was spread over 1.5 acres, and about a third of it was actually factory units. When you got there on the day, there was often up to another 100 people also collecting their kit, and you joined a long snaking queue to get to the front to pay your balance, and out on an old colliery trolley would come your kit. The chassis was balanced on top, and underneath was all the other parts that came with it. And we'll go through some of the components that you would get with the kit in a moment. Along with all the parts you got, the instruction video was almost a work of art of its own. It was 12 hours of VHS tape, and it wasn't exactly Hollywood produced, shall we say. And not only that, it wasn't in sequence, so you had to flip backwards and forwards. And this is, remember, the days before we had videos on DVD or on stream on YouTube, where you could easily flick backwards and forwards. So made a little bit of a challenge. Robin Hood provided probably what was the most comprehensive kit ever on the market, particularly at the budget end. Within the kit, you've got your chassis, which could be either stainless or mild steel. You've got your interior body panels, again, could be stainless or mild steel, and the same for the outer body panels. You've got your GRP, you've got your front wings, you've got your nose cone, and you've got your rear wheel arches. You also got your windscreen. That includes the glass, frame, rubbers, so that was all included. You got the lighting set, your headlights, your indicators, your tail lights, fog lights. It was all included. You got the exhaust. Now that was based on it being a Pinto engine car, because the kit was based around virtually any 4-cylinder petrol Ford Sierra, but you got an exhaust to fit it. It fitted the original manifold. You could upgrade to a 4-branch. You also got steering components and suspension components, so pieces like the wishbones, steering racks and so on, that was all in the basic kit. And finally, you've got some miscellaneous parts. You got things like the prop shafts, that was in the kit. You got mirrors, they were all included, so everything was ready to go. It was amazingly comprehensive. Quick interjection, before you all write in, I know this exhaust is on the wrong side for a Pinto engine Sierra. That's because this particular car has a Ford Zetec engine put in it, which is why the exhaust is on the left rather than the right. So no need to write in with your complaint letters. And the other thing they did, you could actually fit the original Ford Sierra fuel tank, which is obviously quite a big unit, and it actually poked out here into the passenger compartment, but it also took away most of your boot space. So most people brought an aftermarket tank which Robin Hood would supply, which were either 30 or 40 litre capacity. When the 2B was originally launched, it came with sliding pillar suspension. Now, for those of you with a broad automotive knowledge, they will know that that is really aligned to a manufacturer called Morgan. but it wasn't that well received. It was very cost effective to produce because it used the original hub from the Ford Sierra with an insert sliding up the inside parts of the original McPherson strut. So a couple of years into production, Robin Hood launched this double wishbone suspension as an add-on package and eventually became standard as part of the 2B Plus kit. The other option that came out to get the sub K below £1,000, it had a mini McPherson strut set up on the front, and that was again a bit of a compromise, but cost-wise was obviously very cheap to produce. Some of the other innovative ways Robin Hood came up with to make building a 2B cheaper were quite interesting. For example, the dials. Their original Ford Sierra dials behind cutouts which are laser cut into the dashboard panel that Robin Hood supply. The wiper mechanism is cut down from the original Ford Sierra one. One of the unique features of the 2B which helped keep costs down was its alligator bonnet. Now, most cars of this style have a fixed nose cone, a fixed scuttle and a removable bonnet, but not in the case of the 2B. It's hinged at the back, which means you've only got the two parts of the bonnet and the nose cone as components, whereas normally you would need like a fabricated scuttle, and this was one way that Robin Hood used to keep the cost of the 2B kit down. Over the years, there were probably thousands of kits produced by Robin Hood of the 2B and its similar variants. Interestingly, a lot of them still come up for sale, and it's now nearly 25 years on since the first kits were produced, and it's amazing how 25 years ago we were buying Sierra donor cars for £100. Now the components of those cars, like the Pinto engine, the 5-speed gearboxes, the rear axle, are now worth probably more than what the original kit was. So in fact, those unfinished kits that are still on the market are becoming donors for Ford Sierras. It's the circle of life, of course. Now, like most families, there's a couple of siblings that probably, most people wouldn't want us to talk about, but we're going to. Prior to the launch of the 2B, Robin Hood actually launched a small car called the Kaig, and that was Kaig. Now, this was based on the Mini Metro. It used the floor pan from the Metro, but was virtually a one-tube chassis that had been bent round as like a predecessor to the 2B. It was trying to be like a smart car built out of a Metro, and in retrospect, it's one of the ugliest cars ever produced. However, it got Robin Hood on the road to producing this car. The other one is called the Rager. Now, this was launch is probably too strong a word. It was at the prototyping stage, about 2004. This was more of an off-roader style car. If you imagine something like a Range Rover converted for off-road motorsport, it had that kind of look. Again, using the CNC tube bending machine to create the chassis, it was Sierra based, looking more at the 4x4 version, so you were using like the V6 engines. As I mentioned earlier, the 2B was originally launched in 1999. Come 2001, alongside it was launched the Sub K, which you can probably guess by the name was under £1,000, but plus VAT. So in the UK, that was £1,150 for your kit. And you could still add on the upgrade of stainless steel for either the chassis and or the body panels. A couple of years later, along came the Super Spec, which was Robin Hood's really first time of building a complete new car. It had a Rover engine and basically brand new components the whole way through, used a chassis very similar to the 2B, but had what they class as titanium coloured panels. So it wasn't that standard stainless steel silver. It was more of a golden texture to the finish of the panels. And they've been quite a popular car as well. Well, that's the Robin Hood 2B. It was a great entry point for an awful lot of kit car builders. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you consider giving us a like and maybe even a subscribe, as we've got a lot more exciting content coming up really soon. Drive safe.